around the heart?
Pericardium.
What the outer layer is going to be known as the
Epicardium.
fibrous pericardium, and the inner layer is known as the
Serous.
serous pericardium, where the serous fluid is going to flow through. So on the inside of this, it's going to be known as the parietal, and then
Parietal.
this will be known as the
Visceral.
visceral. Another name for this is also the epicardium, right? The epicardium. So, good. All right, we'll go with that guy. All right, so the epicardium, and then in here, the heart's made up of myocardium, and then the shiny layer on the inside is known as the endocardium,
Endocardium.
right? Good. So, let's get our orientation here and try to figure out what we're looking at. What structure is this?
Right atrium.
The right atrium, right?
Atrium.
We're looking at that anterior view of the heart. So we have the right atrium here, which means that this must be the
Right ventricle.
Right
right
ventricle.
ventricle. It means that this is the
Anterior atrioventricular.
anterior interventricular groove or sulcus, separating the right ventricle
And
from the
left ventricle.
left ventricle, which the way to know that you're looking at the left ventricle to get to your orientation is you go straight to the tip, which is known as the apex, which is made of the left ventricle. So we can see the left ventricle here. All right, we can see the coronary circulation going all around the heart.
Do we have to know any specific coronary veins?
No,
Okay.
no. So if that's the right atrium, this is going to be the
Left.
left atrium, right? So now let's open up the heart, try to figure out what's going on here. So we can see that there is a large ventricle and a small ventricle. So which one is this one going to be?
Left.
The left.
Left, and that means this is going to be
The right.
the right. We can see again the left ventricle here. Let's switch to this heart for just a minute so we can do it the same kind of right and left atrium. So this is well, shoot, I guess we can't. It's not cut in this. Anyway, Leslie, I feel motivated enough to actually cut a heart that has the right atrium in there, and then we look at the muscles in there. Those muscles are known as the pectinate muscles, right? So what chamber is this?
Right
Right.
atrium.
Right. Yep.
That's the left atrium because the walls are so thick on the ventricle.
Nope. Somebody else.
Right atrium.
It's the right ventricle. No.
Ventricle, right?
Ventricle.
Okay, so here's our atrium here, and this is our right atrium. So and this is our left atrium here. This is our right ventricle, and this is our left ventricle, right? We can see the apex here. So this is telling us left ventricle, left atrium, right ventricle, right atrium. So when we look at this, the atrium is not really cut into, right? So we're not
Okay.
really seeing into the right atrium or the left atrium from this particular section. But we are looking into the which ventricle here? Right
The right
ventricle, right? It's a smaller one. Always bet
Yeah.
Okay.
smaller is going to be right. The larger one's going to be the left.
Wow.
So then, when we look in here, though, we can see some trabecular kind of structure, and that would be known as the trabecular carne. Yeah, if you run your fingers over it, you can even feel that the structure of that muscle there. Again, this is going to be the myocardium, and we're separating this myocardium that separates the right from the left ventricle is known as the interventricular septum, right? The interventricular septum here. So within this interventricular septum, remember we'll have that AV node and then the AV bundle, and then those bundle branches are going to go out here and then break off into all those Purkinje cells all around the ventricles. All right, so we have a smooth, shiny layer in here on this on the inside of this ventricle. That smooth, shiny layer is known as what layer of the heart? Endocardium, right? So we can see the endocardium. We can see some more trabecular carne there. We can see a valve here coming from the left ventricle. Blood's gonna have to go past this valve to go out this way. So if this is the left ventricle. This valve must be the
Aortic.
Mitral.
from left ventricle. We're going into the I think
Aortic.
Aortic, right? So we're going into the aorta, right? So left ventricle is going to push it onto the aorta, and then
I'm sorry. So that's the aortic valve.
which is also what
Semilunar.
semilunar valve, right? And then here we can we can see some parts of the the valve here, and within this left ventricle, that's going to be connecting our atrium to the ventricle. So this would be known as our
Mitral.
on the left side, the mitral or bicuspid, and we can see that this is part. This filmy structure here is part of the actual valve, right? So if I stuck a pin in there, then you would tell me, that we're talking about the valve. But we have some stringy structure here that's connecting this valve to something else. The stringy structure is known as the
Chordae tendineae.
chordae tendineae. I'm sorry, I got a cough here. I don't want to cough like. Okay, the chordae tendineae is going to be attached to these finger-like projecting muscles known as the
Papillary.
papillary muscles, right? And then we open it up and we can see some more of that trabeculae carne. All right, okay, so let's get rid of this guy and move on to this guy. So again, is this anterior or is this anterior?
This.
That one.
This one?
Anterior.
Anterior.
Other way
The other way.
around.
The other way.
That's posterior. That's anterior.
Anterior.
I think it's the other way.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
always
strange.
No.
The other way.
The apex points down to the left. So that's if that was the anterior,
So what are we looking at here? What's this big chamber?
the left ventricle.
Left
ventricle.
ventricle, right? So if that's the left ventricle, these small chambers are going to be the
Right ventricle.
Right.
right ventricle. So that means this is our right ventricle here and our right atrium over here, right? So this would be our anterior view then,
Okay.
right? So, try to do it either by the apex, which I think is the fastest way, or if you have to open it up and look inside and then say left ventricle, right ventricle. So this must be right atrium. That means this is my anterior view because the right atrium is supposed to be up here, right? So right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, apex, base. We open it up. We have the, look at that, look at those muscles. If that's our right atrium, then these muscles must be the
Pectinate.
pectinate muscles. Yeah, you can see those beautiful pectinate muscles. And then we have a valve that's coming. You can see this valve here because we see these stringy-like structures called the
Chordae
chordae tendineae connecting that valve there. So that valve is going to be between the right atrium and the right ventricle, and this valve must be the
Tricuspid.
the tricuspid, right? So it's our tricuspid, and those stringy chordae tendineae are going to be attached to papillary muscles, right? And then our right ventricle and left ventricle is going to be separated by the
Interventricular septum.
interventricular septum. We can see these nice finger-like projection muscles here, again called the papillary muscles, again with the stringy structures called the
Chordae
chordae tendineae, except now we're in the left ventricle, so this valve must be the bicuspid, or the mitral valve, or the left AV valve, right? And that means that this must be the left atrium, right? And this valve, there's very little of it left, must be the coming out of the aortic valve coming out here, and then we can stick our finger, follow it out, and look at that, my fingers connect. Right? Okay. So good. Did we miss anything?
No.
No.
Excellent. So
Okay.
we're